Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News, Seattle's finest over here, coming to you live from my mobile setup in Seattle, Washington. No sighting of Bigfoot, although my hair is looking pretty nice, isn't it, today? Oh, boy, what's going on over there? We've got a video of Charity being interviewed by Hannah Brown, and she reacts to the Braden edit, calls him a little manipulative, but she does give Braden a lot of credit. We're going to get into that. She actually sort of exposes another cast member for kind of love bombing her. Not her words, those are mine. So we're going to get into all of that. I've got Hannah Brown clips right here from this Zoom interview, which I have to say, I generally think Hannah Brown will be a good podcaster, but Zoom interviews aren't it. And I do Zoom interviews, but I'm just saying you got to do what like Caitlin Bristow was doing, which is get to the interview, do it live, get great video, great audio, and I don't think that's the method to really grow a podcast in today's world. But either way, yesterday, I'm going to get to all that. Yesterday, I went on to the Pacific Northwest only daytime talk show. It's called New Day Northwest. And we discussed the pumpkin spice latte debut. I've got the full 10-minute conversation on my Patreon. If you want to join and watch it, it's patreon.com/Dave Neal. You guys judge for yourself, but I think I'm a new daytime personality. Could you imagine if this became my life? Have a watch.
This is just the best day of the year. I'm not even lying.
So Rebecca knows. I'm not the super pumpkin spice guy.
No.
Not at all. Never have been. I'm not sure if I will be. So.
That's all right. Well, what do you think? You both got the cold brews?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it tasty?
This is a morphine drip for. This is the pumpkin spice latte is just the McRib for white women. That's why you don't like it, because
it has no barbecue sauce in it.
No.
But boy, do they go nuts for this.
That's less of a smack in the face than this, though. So
yeah. I
I
have tried the hot one,
okay.
and again, I wasn't.
And then we talked about some other things there. Maybe at the end of this episode, I'll play one more clip for you at the end if you stick around. But had a blast. Absolutely great time. Okay, let's get to this story here. Here's the first clip of Hannah Brown, and then and by the way, update on my shattered monitor. You guys can't see it, but I posted on Instagram. My monitor's completely shattered. Alaska Airlines dropped my suitcase out of the plane. Apparently they drive by the airport and they just go bombs away, and they just drop it onto the ground. But they have said they're going to replace it, so maybe I'll have to get a bigger mobile studio setup, and we'll have to see how that works out. But that's just your update. Here's Hannah Brown interviewing Charity. Here's the first clip.
But so many voices are coming at you. Did you ever have, or do you still have any moments of like insecurity?
I would be lying if I said I didn't, because at the end of the day, we're all human. So whether or not that's like 4 days on and you're just feeling so good, and then you have one bad day, that's also okay. So I think it's just like, obviously, like knowing how to identify that is huge. So that's like the first step. But also like I can always resort back to just like who I am as a person, and knowing that, yes, I did go on television to find love, but like that doesn't define me. And I think leaving this space and leaving like the Bachelor world and like gaining like autonomy and control over like my relationship and like who I am, like that was just a time, and that was broadcasted for everyone to see and like enjoy, and that's great. But like life goes on, and like this is the next chapter, so like regaining like that control over my life again definitely like helps. And it's hard sometimes, like obviously people are not going to always agree with what you do, but like coming to terms is like I made the best decision for myself.
You are so confident, but so many voices.
All right, so that's the first clip there. Very interesting. And just to further along my point here about Hannah Brown, I'm not trying to be tough. I think she's fantastic on camera, obviously. And I think the only way to improve what she's doing is to only do in-person interviews. She had this giant launch for her podcast, and someone had posted Chris Harrison's podcast too. He was like, we're going to have the greatest, newest podcast. Chris Harrison released a 9-minute episode. A 9-minute. I've had bowel move. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? I've had conversations in elevators longer than 9 minutes. What the hell's going on with the slop? So I'm not calling this slop. I'm just saying critically, Hannah Brown has her team at CAA and all these agents and gift bags, and we're going to launch the new thing, and it's going to be better tomorrow and better to, and I think that's all great. But I think you have to take a page out of the book from What? Oh, that's not it. That's it. Sorry, I got the wrong Trump interview here. Oh boy, that's a different dumpster fire. Good audio quality though. You're fired. We need to take a page out of Caitlin Bristow's book where we see Caitlin Bristow flying to interviews. Same thing with Jason Tartick, flying to interviews, getting them in person. And that's how you grow the channel to like the next level. And wherever Charity's doing these media interviews, I hate to say it, but it's like, Hannah, get on an airplane, go to the hotel room, get a 3-camera setup. And it sounds like a lot, but like that's what the good podcasts are doing. It's a tax write-off. Either way, it's not a bad interview. I'm being critical. Don't judge me. If anyone wanted to know, like, my thoughts, some people pay for it. All right, so let's go to it here. 42-minute mark. 2 clips to play about Charity discussing Braden and how she was a little surprised at the edit and the reaction to what actually he was saying behind the scenes.
Conversations are so important, and everyone's nervous, but like obviously we see me like my first impression, Rose. I was looking for like just moments, and I think you can relate as a lead with everything that's going on. It's just so many moving parts. When you finally sit down with someone and it just is like, you don't feel like you have to like be on, or you don't feel like you have to think about it. It's just like, all right, we're just like really kicking it and cooling it. Like that was how I felt with like some of the conversations that night. And that was like honestly so refreshing. So like those were the moments that I was kind of looking for initially. But even then, like, I don't think, like, yes, I felt the energy and I felt like, okay, like this is like a good group of guys, but I can't say like, oh, my husband without a doubt, like, is there? Like I didn't know.
No, I totally get that. For me, it was definitely like this slower burn for sure. And I had a moment, I don't know if you had this, where I was like, I don't know if my guy is here later on.
But it's like, Hannah, you chose Jed, so I understand you felt that way, so you're at kind of different. Although Hannah got engaged. She was engaged to Jed, even though she says it doesn't really count. And I agree with her. It doesn't count. Those are the engagements on the shows do not count. It's like, that's as good as just a purity ring. You know what I mean? All right, where's the next clip? Sorry about that. Let's go to the 59-minute mark here. I got to go through my cracked screen. Oh boy, I can't see anything. There it is, folks. All right, let's go back 30 seconds here. Thanks for bearing with me. It's really hard to make content sometimes when I'm in a mobile studio, especially now that my screen is shattered.
Oh, okay. Is this how I'm feeling, or is this where like the story's going?
Correct.
And I don't mean that. I'm not saying like you get to make your own decisions, but
yeah,
you can get caught up in this guy is coming in as like the sweet guy that does everything and says everything right. So maybe I should go this way because this is where the story goes. Or, oh, this guy makes me feel alive.
Yes.
But is that
yeah,
alive in a good way, or is he just making all my emotions go up and down?
Exactly.
And exciting. And I think it's really smart of you that you advocated for yourself for those times to just get centered. And I think that's why it led you to the decision that you've made. Yeah. Do you have any regrets?
I always say no, because every single decision that I made led me to where I'm at now.
Smart.
That I can say I'm grateful for. I have learned watching this back to give myself grace, in that I did what was best with the information that I knew at the time. And that is all you can go off of. So
guys, that's it. Do you want the key to happiness? Seriously, join my Patreon, patreon.com. Dude, Charity just said it. I've been shouting it from the rooftop. She did the best with the information she had. Just like your mom is, just like your friend is, who doesn't always return your calls, and you're like, hello, are we not friends? Everyone's trying their best with the information they have, and they might have some faulty information, or be working off of inner child insecurities, or all these different things. But the way to happiness is to remember that people are trying their best, which I have to remind myself that, because I get super annoyed with people. I get super annoyed with shitty comments and ignorance and so many different things. And I have to remember, everybody's trying the best with the information they have. Let's just continue to get people more information so that they can be nicer versions of themselves.
Watching it back, sure, like I'm getting hyped in the moment of like, that's insane. Like, I didn't know you were feeling that way. I should have like maybe took the rose back.
She's referring to Brayden, and Hannah Brown's about to be like, all right, we're using names now. Who hurt you?
But it's like, no, like I didn't know any better, and I did not.
And you can see it in Hannah's eyes if you're watching this on the YouTube or if you're on the podcast. Hannah's got that look like, oh, we're getting to get into the goods right now. We're gonna clip up some reels. This is getting good. Hannah's good at what she does. I think she's right for this. I just think it'll be better off if they had this conversation in person where they could really feel each other's energies.
Have full like outlook on like everything that was going on behind the scenes. So it's like I could only go based off of what I was feeling. And
we're talking about Brayden.
Yes, correct. For example, with the snatching the rose.
Yes. He's like but I mean
he's great TV, truly, but like
TV. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Really
Charity admits he's great TV.
Enjoyed him. But did you like have that in the back of your mind of like, oh, like he's good TV and he is fun to hang out with?
That's really what I was resorting to. Like it wasn't even like the good TV because like obviously I don't know what's gonna make air, but it's like you're really fun. Like
yeah. So guys, having met Brayden a couple of times, and again, this is not a bad thing. What I'm about to say, he is a nice guy. He's a warm. He's soup. He's soup. He's chicken soup. It's warm. Like if Charity's like feeling insecure about different guys or this or that, Brayden was probably a very calming force. That's why everybody likes him. That's a good thing. I don't think he's got a sinister motivation there. It doesn't mean he was meant to settle down with Charity, but I'm sure if there wasn't so much pressure on the relationship to find an engaged couple and break up with someone every week, I'm sure she would probably just want to date Brayden for a while because he's got that kind of warm milk energy. And again, that's a compliment. Who doesn't like a glass of warm milk?
And are you going to be my husband? I don't know, but like, am I having more fun with you than someone else?
Bingo.
Yeah.
So like, that's okay.
I know you wanted to get engaged at the end. Mm-hmm. When he would have these conversations with you about having doubts, was there part of you that was like, oh, at least he's being honest? Mm-hmm. And some of these other people are
Keelan Bristow song, If I'm Being Honest.
Like, no, I am for sure ready to get engaged. But like, you've only had like maybe 20 minutes of conversation with
All right, so Hannah Brown's calling out Sean right now, who had said, oh, I'm for sure ready to get engaged. And Hannah Brown's saying, all right, pipe down.
Me.
Yes. And so, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And so I think some people see that and it's like, oh my gosh, like he just said that he's unsure. I empathize with, oh, at least he's saying it. Like, yes, this is what I want for sure. And maybe we're not in the same place, but at least he's being honest with me. And maybe that was my own insecurity. Did you feel that way?
No, 100%. And I can like give an example of like someone who would always talk about like, oh, like I see like forever with you. I see you as my wife and I'm ready to take you home. Like, we saw that like very easily after like Sean won the group date in Oceanside. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, like this is our first real moment together, Sean. So it's like, this is crazy, but it's like, okay, like I'm glad you feel that way. But also like for me too, I'm like taking all of that still with a grain of salt. Yeah.
And this is what, so Hannah then calls it a red flag. And I don't disagree with them. It's just funny that the show's edit is always like, who's here for the right reasons? But the right reasons doesn't mean love bomb and pretend like you're super into somebody when you have to, it's like a very tight needle you have to thread there. And Sean was on the edge of like, we're ready to go, this and that. And it's like, all right, pipe down, bro. Like, let's just chill for a minute here. All right, so we've got more to this story, but we're out of time here on the YouTube video. This was interesting. I'm just going to read the title here. I'm not going to weigh any opinions on this, but I'm going to cover this on today's Bachelor Rush Hour podcast. Bachelorette villain Brayden slammed for cultural appropriation in new video that fans demand him to delete. Now, there's always going to be a fan that demands everyone to delete something. So is this an actual outrage moment or not? I'm not sure, but I am going to cover this on today's Bachelor Rush Hour podcast, which will be up in an hour or so every afternoon, Bachelor Rush Hour, featured in Time Magazine. Did you know that? And then finally, let's just go to a random clip here. I'll play a random clip discussing the earthquakes in I don't know if you guys remember the earthquake that rattled us in Los Angeles.
Yes. So we have plants. We have fig trees.
Let's go back.
But I want to hear how your experience went, Dave.
It was the most Hollywood hurricane of all time. Hurricane makes its big West Coast debut. Earthquake gets jealous and steals the thunder. And it's like, what? Just give it a and then it doesn't even hit. And, you know, my wife and I don't have any kids because we're old millennials and who can afford that?
Yes.
So we have plants. We have fig trees. And so we have bags over the fig trees. Just trying to save
plants.
I literally ripping the bags off. I think I did more damage than the hurricane.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so I had a blast on morning. I'm a morning TV guy, folks. Come on. But if you want to watch that full 10-minute clip, it's on my Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal. We'll be back right after this.